I had never been on Mr. Toad's wild ride. I had never taken acid. These are two very important details that would change my life. Simi Valley High, grad night, 1991. I was 18 years old, sitting on a bus in the Disneyland parking lot. I'd spent my high school days uneventfully blending into multiple cliques. My ratty mullet and formidable soccer skills kept me in with the jocks. My ratty mullet and encyclopedic knowledge of Metallica kept me in with the metalheads. In the last weeks leading up to graduation, I stumbled into the stoner clique and discovered something called relaxation. I'd smoked pot for the first time just a week prior at a late-night senior ditch day party. My new stoner friend, Kevin, and I were sitting at a rickety kitchen table along with a few other of my new friends. Kevin was like a stoner James Bond. He was cool, calm, relaxed. Girls hovered around him with his long blonde hair tied back in a bandana. His encyclopedic knowledge was of life, man. So when he said with an easy smile and soft voice, "Take a hit," sliding the pipe over to me, I took one. Then another, and another. And I squinted as the light seemed on the verge of exploding, and I smiled, and I laughed, and everything was funny! And Kevin's cigarette bouncing up and down as he talked, the cow figurines strewn about the house, the way my chair squeaked every time I laughed. I felt unburdened. Suddenly, I didn't have to worry about being the hero of my family, being caught in the middle between my mom and dad. I didn't have to worry about my dad drinking and provoking my mom. I didn't have to worry about her flipping out, biting his hand, throwing dishes, and terrifying my younger brother. But most importantly, I didn't have to feel the suffocating guilt of failing to meet my mom's never-ending emotional needs, like a therapist, like a husband. Now, on grad night, a week later, on the bus, Kevin leaned over to me from a row back, held out his hand to reveal a tiny square tab of acid with a clown face on it, and said, "You ready?" And sitting next to Kevin was my friend Mike, who had also graduated from jock to stoner. I had overheard Kevin and Mike talking about trying to get acid, and here it was, in my face. My id was raging against my conscience. Kevin and Mike put the acid on their tongues and smiled at me. Kevin said, "Come on, let's do this." Impulsively, I grabbed it and put it on my tongue. I felt alert, hypervigilant, waiting for the change. Waiting. My first clue that the acid was kicking in was when I stared at the brightly lit snowy peak of Matterhorn Mountain. And it was moving and flowing like a river of milk pouring from the black sky. I pointed at it. I said, "Look, you gotta see this. Look at this miracle." No one could see it. Kevin shushed me. Dude, you're just tripping. I didn't know what was real anymore. Kevin insisted that we go on Mr. Toad's wild ride. Wait, why would we want to go on that ride? We entered Toad Hall, a recreation of the majestic home of Mr. Toad. The hardwood walls appeared to be billowing in and out when a miniature car pulled up. I was rushed into the car and off I went, into a world of blacklight cartoon animals and loud, vibrant sound. The car careened through the library, crashed through the fireplace and opened into an opulent hallway where weasels were swinging from the chandeliers? Why were weasels swinging from the chandeliers? Time blurred. Scenes and sounds melded together. At some point, the car took a breakneck turn into a juryless courtroom where a towering judge, wearing one of those huge white wigs, was yelling, "Guilty! Guilty! Guilty!" I was surrounded by heat jets, bright flames, and bouncing demons. My heart began to race, and a sick numbness fell over my whole body. I started yanking at the lap bar, trying to escape. This is not fun anymore. Someone help me. I died that night at Disneyland. The happiest place on earth. As I sat on the bus at sunrise, at the end of my trip, I struggled to make sense of what I had just done. The guilt had been hovering, waiting to pounce on me for dropping acid, for letting my mom down. I was staring out the window when I realized it, and I needed to tell someone. I nudged Kevin, who was falling asleep. The day is just a continuation of the night. It might have been an Enya-ism, but it was deep. I looked around the bus as it lumbered down the highway toward home. I felt pride. I did it! I fucking took acid! And I survived. Fuck yeah! I'm becoming an adult! Then I saw the sign, Simi Valley. I imagined walking into my house, and I imagined my mom using her superpowers to sniff out the acid. But when I got home, everyone was still asleep, so I was able to slip into my room undetected. I lay down in bed, took a deep breath, put my headphones on, and tried to unwind, listening to Metallica's "And Justice for All." Somehow I fell asleep. When I woke up, I dutifully thanked God for letting me get away with it. Nobody had to know. I opened the door to my room. I saw my mom's face, and the guilt flooded in, and my heart began to race. I knew I would tell her. I held out 2 weeks before ratting myself out. I needed her to know what I had become. She was in the bathroom getting ready for work, using the mirror to put on her makeup when I told her. "Mom, I took acid on grad night. I'm not your therapist, I'm not your husband." The memories of her flipping out, biting my dad's hand, and throwing the dishes raced through my mind as I braced for her reaction. But there was silence. Nothing. She said nothing. She kept staring forward without acknowledging me. She just kept working on her makeup. The day is just a continuation of a night. The day is just a continuation of a night. Thanks.
Onderdonk.